Welcome back, everybody. It's a New Year edition, the championship edition of the Red and White Podcast. I'm Evan with my co-host Dustin. Happy New Year, buddy.
Yeah, you too, and everybody else.
So it's the national championship edition, and maybe one day we'll actually record these when that'll be relevant to us.
No, we won't.
But maybe one day. But Clemson and Alabama are playing for the national championship tonight. Right off the bat, who do you got?
Bama.
What's the score?
Oh, it's tough. It's probably a month or two ago, I was telling people that I thought Alabama was probably 3 scores better than everybody. And I thought they were last year, too. And it ended up being somewhat of a close game. I still think they get them by at least 10.
I'm going Clemson. I think Clemson's hot right now. I know they're probably the trendy pick. But, man, watching them dismantle Ohio State, I was really impressed. And I know it's not Bama, but...
Do you know how many rushing touchdowns Alabama has given up this year?
I can't think of one, so I have no idea.
3.
3?
In an entire season.
It's amazing. Their defense it really is unbelievable. I think what's going to happen, though, I think their defense is going to be the best that Clemson's seen this year. But Clemson's offense is going to be the best that Alabama has seen this year.
I mean, I'll agree with that.
And so it's going to be curious to see what happens, especially in the defensive lines, both sides, because Clemson's defensive line is ridiculous too. Now, they don't score at the rate that Alabama's does, but I don't know. I think they have a chance.
That's iffy now too, because the Kiffin connection's gone. So,
right. So there's a lot of factors playing into Alabama being, I don't want to say questionable because they're never questionable, but people giving Clemson some love here, and I can buy into it. Clemson, I mean, watching Bama, especially against Washington, they're going to have a hard time moving the ball because they really can't throw the ball that well, and they just run it, and it's hard to run on Clemson. They're pretty good. They're pretty good rush defense.
I mean, Bama throws a lot. Recently, they've gone more to that. Jalen Hurts is good.
Yeah,
he's no Deshaun Watson, but
right.
I don't know. I think it's gonna come down to that defensive pressure, and like Clemson has it, but here's where ACC fans are gonna hate me. The SEC West defensive lines are good. I mean, the ACC Atlantics are too, but it's not like they haven't seen a fast, hard-hitting defense, I guess is my thing.
Yeah. I don't know. You're probably right in that regard. So I would just think Alabama hasn't faced a Deshaun Watson or Mike Williams yet, I don't think. There's some good players, but I don't think any of them are that level.
Also,
so that's why I think
State should have beaten Clemson. So
sure. That's not good.
Bama didn't have one of those close games that I know of, really.
Right.
And Clemson's lucky to be there. And one other thing, it probably shouldn't have rubbed me the wrong way, but it did. I think it was yesterday, I was reading something about how Dabo said that the only team in the country that could beat Alabama was Clemson. You would never hear Nick Saban come out and say something like that.
No, I think it got taken out of context a bit. If you read it on Twitter, it sounds like, damn, it's like cocky asshole. But I think what he was saying is that their makeup, that makes them the best chance to actually beat Alabama.
So he was just saying from a matchup.
Yeah, So I get it. I wouldn't have said it, but I definitely understand it because I think you're right. I think they are
that's something you tell your team.
Right.
You don't come out and, I don't know, poke the bear, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. I think the funny story was, speaking of poking the bear, is apparently Washington didn't give Alabama any bulletin board material, so they just made it up. So Alabama, I think they have all these coaches that are called analysts because they can't actually be called coaches.
Right.
They just created all this fake bulletin board material to get their team motivated. I thought that was interesting. Like, Washington didn't say anything. Screw it, we don't need it. We're just going to make it up. I mean, it is, but if you need motivation to play, to get up to play in one of those playoff games or a national championship. Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's a bigger issue for a team like that hasn't lost a game.
Yeah,
Like, it's hard to think you're all of a sudden going to get competition.
right.
And anybody that thought Washington was going to make that a game was crazy.
Yeah, they had too many injuries. Earlier in the year they probably could have made been a little closer, but they just it's too hard for them to compete top to bottom with Alabama, I think.
Yeah, there's a big difference in the Pac-12
yeah, for
and
sure.
the SEC or the ACC for that matter this year, as you can tell from bowl records.
It's always been that way too. I mean, if you look at least from the SEC and Pac-12, I think when Oregon was in the national title game, maybe versus Bama, or was it Auburn, and they were actually heavy favorites and they got trucked.
Yeah, it's always the Pac-12 is Oregon. Well, it used to be Oregon, and then USC and Arizona State co-eds, and that's it. Like, they have nothing else going for them. So,
man, I almost went to get my doctorate at Arizona State just for that reason.
Oh man,
I still hate that I didn't.
I still say if the Arizona State basketball job is an opportunity for Godfrey, he is gone.
I mean, why not?
Yeah,
it'd be perfect for him.
That's what, the game yesterday. They were talking about him losing weight, and they're like, "Oh, well, you lost a bunch of weight." And they're like, "I wonder what sparked that." I'm like, "He's on the prowl. That's what."
He's clubbing.
Yeah,
so he's out there on the scene now.
He's not a married man anymore.
Yeah.
Anyway,
to digress, Clemson's won. I think one of their major hurdles they have to overcome, and they didn't do it versus Ohio State, but they tried, was turnovers. Actually, I think they did turn over twice against Ohio State. That's plagued them all year. I mean, in our game, I think they had 5. And you just can't do that against Alabama, so they need to take care of the ball better. Yeah. And if they do that, I think they have a chance to win. I don't know if they're going to win, but I think they do.
See, that's his only problem is he turns the ball over under pressure.
Yeah.
That's when he makes those very questionable throws. And he's going to see pressure tonight like he hasn't seen all year.
So if Clemson wins, is that good or bad?
In what context? For the conference?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good, right? Then we can start, the ACC chants and feel like we're actually winners when we're not. Like South Carolina doing an SEC chant anytime something good. Well, good for you. The team you play against is good. I mean, that's cool. But I mean, there's a bragging standpoint, there's a recruiting standpoint. Come to our division, play the national champion kind of deal, and we need all the recruiting help we can get now. So,
yeah, that's the one. That's the angle I think about it too. I hear a lot of people say you don't want to recruit against the national championship or national champion team, but I don't know how much different that is than playing the team that's been in the national championship the last two years in a row, right?
Yeah. It's a talking point.
It's the same. Yeah.
If you want the guys that want to play against the best,
Right. I agree.
It's a character thing, I guess. Looking at, kids coming out of high school, they should want that. So,
given the ACC's dominance in the bowl season this year, which has been nothing short of phenomenal, outside of Louisville, who's collapsed all year, we've kind of seen that. But I would just love for the ACC chant to just be a thing, just to mock the SEC. I know ACC fans kind of don't do that, but it would be awesome if it did.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never understood it. I mean, I grew up an SEC fan, and I still love SEC football, but I don't see a victory in like a rival's success at all.
Yeah. I don't either. I will never be saying, be pounding my chest ACC if Carolina wins something.
No, it's just an excuse for losses. That's all it is.
Right.
Oh, well, of course we were going to lose that game. They played just like if we're in the tournament, basketball-wise, if we're going to get beat, I hope the team that beats us wins it all, I guess. But it's not any kind of conference loyalty. It's just an excuse for me saying, well, they could have beat anybody.
Yeah, they were going to beat anybody. They did beat everybody.
Yeah, and that's the story of the SEC East. Like,
yeah, that's true.
They get to play the West, so that West needs to carry the torch. It just means more in the SEC. So.
Man, SEC's, it's been really bad in the bowl games, which is crazy. But...
yeah. I mean, even the West was down this year. It's Bama, and that's it.
The best part about it is that when something like this happens, so if it's the other way around, they're like, oh, the SEC is great, nobody can beat them. But when it's on the other side and the ACC is crushing folks, they're like, well, bowls don't really mean that much because it's all based on matchups, right? It's
Yeah.
always some sort of narrative to spin the other way. The ACC will never get the credit for being a good football conference.
They've got too much. ESPN has too much money riding on the SEC's reputation.
Yeah,
Like,
I
it's
think
got
it's
to
just
stay
kind of
there.
it's just ingrained in people at this point. They're stuck on it. Anyway, I thought there was some other tailing away from that. Some interesting football things
Hold
that
on, hold
happened.
on, hold on. Before we go away from that, how much or how trash is the Big Ten?
Oh, they're awful.
I
I mean,
mean, you go ahead.
other than Penn State,
Yeah, and they squeaked by.
yeah,
Like, I
no,
thought Ohio State would probably win a close one over Clemson, and I thought
yeah,
Michigan would truck Florida State.
and Florida State has not been good all year,
No,
and they won that game, and it really got close at the end, but it wasn't that close. And Ohio State didn't score. They didn't score versus Clemson. Like NC State scored versus Clemson. Pitt scored 50 something against
yeah.
Clemson.
Well, I mean,
Like
they had Matt Canada though, so he could score on the Patriots. So
yeah, he's gonna have to next year at LSU.
anyway, go
Yeah,
ahead. I had to touch on the
no, I mean
crap that Big Ten football is. I don't know.
they've been hyped all year. Oh, Big Ten, Michigan, Ohio State should have been in the playoff, both of them.
Yeah, and I
Like
believed it. I fell for it. They duped me,
yeah,
and I'm not happy about it. I mean, my
how dare
God.
you go against the ACC, the almighty ACC? Well, bringing this back to us, there's been some interesting things happen in the coaching off season, and they're only interesting from the fact that two of these guys were air quotes candidates for our job when Dave Dorn was hired. Sonny Dykes just got fired from Cal, which this late in the season,
He's a victim of circumstance.
yeah, I mean that makes you think that either something happened or that Chip Kelly now getting fired from the 49ers in their backyard is they're going to go hard at him or something happened,
The,
right?
the
It's
one
just
thing, did you see the statement that they released?
no, I did not.
The last part of the statement said basically, we want a coach here who's not looking for other jobs every year.
Oh, I've heard the rumors about Dykes trying to look down in the Texas jobs.
Yeah, like it wasn't that clear cut, but that was clear context of the message was we want somebody who's happy to be here, kind of deal.
That makes sense.
Which he wanted to get back to, like you said, Texas, because he came from where, Louisiana before that, somewhere.
Yeah, he was at like Louisiana Tech or
Yeah,
something, but
Texas guy.
he was a Texas Tech guy. I think he was a
So
Mike Leach guy.
he wants
Yeah,
to get back to the Gulf area, basically.
yeah.
I don't blame him. I wouldn't want to live in California either, but it's neither here nor there. So
Yeah. But the other guy who currently made a change, but for the positive, was Willie Taggart. Willie Taggart went from Akron. Was he Akron? I don't know. He was somewhere in the MAC. From there to USF, and USF, everybody knows this year probably had double-digit wins. Blew out a lot of people. Strong team after. I don't know. They don't think they were winless last year, but they lost to us, and they weren't very good.
right.
So it's a 3-year, 4-year turnaround job, and he did a fantastic job. Now they have a fantastic quarterback that has something to do with it, but Willie Taggart moved on to Oregon. He went up. So I think it's kind of interesting to see that the extremes there. Dykes gets fired, Taggart goes up to Oregon, and Dave Dorn kind of sitting in the middle.
Is Oregon still a premier job? I mean, they have the
I mean,
money, but
I have a thing
they
for the
never won
money
it
and
all.
facilities.
You know?
Yeah. I think it's cyclical, man. I think they're good because they have money and facilities, but there's no recruits there, so you have to go into California to recruit. And now if USC gets better and Stanford and there's a lot of competition there. So I don't know if it's a premier job. People will say that it is just because it's kind of the brand, but everybody's got the funky uniforms now. Everybody's got the facilities now. I mean, if you want facilities, go to look at Clemson's new football facility. It's gonna have an indoor putt-putt course and a Chick-fil-A and all sorts of stuff in the football facility.
They don't have puddles riding on a motorcycle though,
That's right.
so they get the mascot win. But I don't know why I love that duck, but I do.
Oh, he's the best. He's a great follow on Twitter too. It's really funny.
But
anyway, I thought it was interesting just to see the changes there.
is that such a strange hire though, isn't it?
Taggart
For Oregon?
I mean, that's what people are saying.
Fit-wise?
People are saying that was a strange fit, but I think he's a California guy. I think he was at Stanford at some point, so I think he's got some connections there. It just seems like they would have gone with I won't say Chip Kelly disciple, but somebody of that nature, right?
Right.
I think it's what most people were expecting, or Dan Mullen, heard Dan Mullen's name. I don't know. I think he'll be fine. I just don't know what Oregon actually is as a program anymore.
How about Chip Kelly getting the call from who was that? Helfrich, or was it Oregon that got fired?
Oh yeah.
Asking him to come back, and he said no. And then,
Yeah.
a month later, I bet he wished he could take that call again.
Well, I think it's always been with Chip Kelly was, at least what the rumors and reports were, that he didn't like dealing with boosters and any of that stuff. He just wanted to coach football, which made the NFL attractive to him.
He needs to worry about the boosters because he handled that better than he does coaching. So.
He didn't do so well in the NFL.
No, he's gone the Saban and Petrino route in the NFL.
Yeah, I'd take him right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
He never has to talk to me once. I'd take him. But anyway, bring that back even farther to us. Bowl game. I guess we have to talk about it. We stomped Vanderbilt as expected, 41-17. Vanderbilt's not very good. It wasn't really a good matchup for them. We're a bit underrated in that regards, or at least underperformed. We had the talent, and they kind of showed. They're going to hang their hat on beating an SEC school. I'm okay with it. It's fine. I wasn't shocked that we won, which I'm not sure how that makes me feel.
Right. I mean, Vanderbilt's trash. There's no. Yeah. They're bottom of the barrel in the East, so.
Right.
That's not something to be super excited about, but going out and actually executing, I guess, is good enough. That's all you can ask for. I'm kind of pissed off we were even playing Vanderbilt. But, I mean, they did what they had to do. That's what they wanted. Did you see
Wake Forest did the Temple? I mean, Wake Forest thumped Temple, which was kind of surprising.
Yeah, because we were scared of them. So
yeah, we didn't want to play Mighty Temple. But yeah, bowl game, it was good. Pack played really well on both sides of the ball. I think it was questionable. I think not questionable. Strange that Matt Days didn't play more than the first quarter. They said nobody really said what happened. I think I heard that he might have tweaked something, and then they just didn't want to force it because they didn't need him.
Right.
Might as well sat out. I threw that out one there for you, and you didn't take it.
Say what?
You might as well sat out the bowl game.
Oh, well. I don't know. I even feel differently about that because he's a senior, so it's not like he's just leaving early. Like,
right. No,
he's done. But yeah, I hope he got some good bowl prep in that second half. Jesus.
Josh Jones is going pro. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. Yeah. He announced pretty much as soon as the clock hit 0 in the fourth quarter, like, drop the mic, I'm out. Everybody knew he was going. I think he'll be fine. He's a super athlete, so he's going to test off the charts. He's 6'2" or 3. It runs a 4.2 as a safety. Once he gets his football IQ up a little bit, he could be very valuable. But he's definitely got the athleticism and whatnot to make it. So I think he'll be fine. The surprise was Bradley Chubb decided to come back. Everybody thought he was gonna bounce.
Yeah, I figured he was out. I would have been.
I don't know. I guess what they say came back with a second or third round grade.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like he could have improved upon that himself, though. But it was a second or third. I saw they asked him about it, and it was a second or third round grade. I want to go as high as possible. I still feel like this year I could have come out and had a lot of success, but I just want to go as high as possible and work on the things I need to work on, and hopefully those get me to where I need to be. So he wants to be a first round pick.
Getting him back from a program standpoint is fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't second guess his choice to come back at all, just because he's got the pedigree and his family has got guys in the NFL all around him. So at least they know what's going on, and I would imagine they're fairly well in tune with what he needs to do and what he needs to accomplish, and if he can accomplish that to come to be a first round pick. So I think it's a good decision. If he had all the information, decides to come back, more power to him. It's better for us because he is fantastic. Had a great year.
Yeah, and two, I mean, the D line has to be better next year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those guys coming back another year, I mean, he's going to look better too because the players around him are, and he's going to be on a good line in itself. So there's no reason to think that he's definitely not going to hurt his stock.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that D line's going to be a monster.
They should be. I think one of the surprises, at least to me, so far, knock on wood, has been the fact that Ryan Nielsen didn't get poached.
Yeah.
I thought somebody would have come after him hard if they, maybe they had, we don't know. But his results and what he's done recruiting and then on the field, he's got to be a hot commodity. So I'm happy he's sticking around. At least as of now, he's still here.
Apparently everybody loves being an assistant here. I don't know.
Except for Clayton White, who is now the defensive coordinator at Western Kentucky. So that's a move up for him. So that's good.
That's good for him. But
yeah,
I don't know. Did we record after the whole Furman deal?
We did. So we talked about that. Yeah. The one we did not talk about, and this is, we kind of mentioned it briefly, but it's a sore point for you, is Matt Canada is now the offensive coordinator at LSU.
God, I'm so glad we fired him.
2 years removed from NC State. He is now at LSU.
I mean, good for him, man. I don't know. That Pitt offense was nasty this year. I think you'll find out a lot more as to what he's made of in a year or two in Baton Rouge, but I don't know. It's making that firing look worse and worse, and I was already pissed off about it. So you better believe I want to be watching LSU like a hawk. And if they average like 30 points a game in the SEC West, hey, he should be the head coach here.
I think you're right. It's going to be interesting to see. I can't recall, and I guess I haven't paid too close of attention, but a coach getting fired and then 2 years later being pretty much at the top of football.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the handful of premier assistant jobs,
Yeah.
There's only so many premier schools, and they only have 2 coordinators apiece. So, I mean, good for him. I think it's well deserved. I mean, I know they got James Conner back this year, but there's more to that than there was more to their season than him,
Yeah, absolutely.
So, good for him, bad for us.
Strange for us is what it is. So, just to wrap up football season, we've got a ton of listener emails. I'm going to pick a few of them. This one's from James IV1978, and this is what he says. I'm going to try to read this without screwing it up. I've been thinking about this for a few weeks, and given the performance of the AC, especially the Atlantic, did we overreact to the lack of results on the field? Did we miss that this was a really good football team that just did not execute in the waning 5 minutes of games, or waning minutes of 5 games? Was Doran correct in saying that NC State was just a few plays away from being a 10-win team? We all mocked him when he said it, but this is a really good team. Look back at some of the results. Clemson, FSU, Miami had a chance against all 3 and face the fact that State is a dropped interception and missed field goal from beating those teams. Next season, they bring 65 or 75 to 85% of his roster back. There's no reason to doubt they could be a 9 and 10 win team next year. and at worst possible 8-4. So my question to you is, did we overreact?
I had kind of came off the ledge uh,
Yeah.
between the last game and the bowl game, and we did get fired up over those bad losses, and we might have overreacted about lack of results because of a few plays, but when it comes down to it, those few plays matter.
Yeah.
And those few plays every year define whether a team is good or bad. Not just
Right.
us. That's the way it works. So until you can get through the season without making those bad plays, I mean, you are what your record says you are.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there's a bit of standing too close to the forest or to the trees to see the forest, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we get worked up over those games, and I think that's okay. We're okay losing to Clemson, Florida State, and Miami, right? Nobody predicted us to win those games. The difference is the losing the BC game and how they lost that game, and then losing the ECU game and how you lost that game, and then you look at how ECU turned out the rest of the year, and how BC just they haven't won anything since I don't know Moses, but that's the frustrating part and it's always been like this for state fans, and I think that's kind of where what pushes us to the edge there is that we don't want to be close enough every year. It's wait till next year, right? You're almost there. We've almost beat those teams. We're competitive. I don't want to be competitive. I want to win those games. And I don't know how much is going to change between this year and next that's going to say that we're going to win those games, other than some of these teams losing some more players. Clemson's going to lose Watson, Florida State, who knows, they're losing Dalvin Cook and whatever. But I, I just 8 wins is at the bottom line for Dorn next year, because you can't build up to year 5 and win less than 8, or even 8's going to be questionable in my mind, because this is the payoff, right? What's the payoff? He better win 9 or 10 games, or he's got a lot of heat.
I think eight and he's safe.
I think 8 and he's safe because nobody fires an 8-win coach, but that's not a really good payoff for me. That's 5 years and squandered opportunities. And I guess it depends on how those 8 play out. If he beats the 8 teams on the schedule they should and loses 4 that people say he's going to lose, I can get with that. I just don't want to blow the BC game or blow an ECU type game. That's what we expect. That you just want to stop being so goddamn frustrating, right?
Yeah, and I mean we had an expectation before the season, and we thought that we should be getting to where we could play with teams and win some games. Right. And we did that, honestly. I mean, we hung with Clemson. When you look at what we did against Clemson the last time we played down there, I mean, there's obvious improvement, but is it fast enough? And is it going to is this the pinnacle, I guess, is what we have to see. And
right.
He's got to figure out a way to get rid of those couple of bad plays against the bad teams, at least. Like you said,
right.
The teams you're supposed to beat, you got to damn well beat them.
Yeah.
Because a good program, a good team, isn't a play away from beating a Boston College or an ECU. They just do it.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, if you look at it from a Clemson perspective, they played terrible against us, but they still found a way to win. Now, you can say that was our fault all you want, but we didn't make the plays to win, and they did, like they should have. And that's the difference between an NC State and a Clemson.
I agree with you. I think that's exactly right. And then you get, not to mention the throttling by Louisville.
Yeah.
They're a tough matchup. That's fine. But you compete with them 2 years in a row, and this year you just get spanked by them. I mean, it's a Clemson hangover. Okay, I'll give you that one. Right, that's the one I'll give you a pass on. But the others, you got to perform better, and you just got to stop being stupid. Just playing stupid. That's what we do sometimes, and it's just so frustrating.
Yeah, and I get the Clemson hangover part
Yeah,
in a way, but the hangover is an excuse for a loss, not just utter failure.
right,
And they shouldn't have rolled over like us like that. I mean,
right.
LSU made them look silly,
Yeah,
and
it
that
was
was an
awful.
LSU team that fired their coach 3-4 games into the season.
Right.
So they weren't all that, you know. I,
Yeah. Louisville just happened to shoot all their own players, so that was part of the problem too. So anyway,
that's another going back to the very beginning here, judging Bama against Clemson.
yeah,
When you look at what LSU did to Louisville, that's a problem for me
yeah.
because Louisville almost beat Clemson.
There's just some teams just match up differently than others.
Right.
I think that's just part of the way it is. Um, Ed from LA had an interesting email. First off, I'm cooling off regarding Dave Dorn and his rotten tenure at NC State. But next season, I need 9-3 or better and 6-2 in the ACC and competing for the crown. We'll never win the conference. Is what he says in parentheses. If he's 6-6 or 7-5 in year 5, out he goes. I think that's kind of what we just said. We agree with you there. This season was actually decent versus 7 bowl teams, but we need improvement, especially in the ACC. No arguments, any of that. I think that's exactly what we're saying. And then Craig points out, he wrote a nice email. I'll pull out this point. The biggest key to the offseason may be getting Bambar to get past his mental issues, especially when our top kicker recruit is still a junior in high school.
Yeah.
So
Do they bring someone else in?
Kicker? No,
Yeah.
they're working on it supposedly.
But a 1-year fix?
Can they? Yes, that's what I mean. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for, at least according to the people who follow recruiting, they're trying to find a kind of a stopgap.
I mean, he just needs to be serviceable.
Yeah.
But then what do you do with Bambard?
At this point, he needs a sports psychologist or something. I don't know what it is because he can't be this bad in practice. Otherwise, I would never give him a chance.
No.
So it's got to be mental. I don't know what to do with him, to be honest.
I mean, that's a shitty spot for the coach to be in, you know?
Yeah.
Because that's taking up a spot. But you can't just say go away.
It's taken up a spot and it's cost you games.
Yeah.
Like it cost you a lot. I mean, he makes those kicks versus ECU, or he wasn't him versus ECU. He makes a kick versus ECU and Clemson. That's a completely different team. We're looking at this completely differently. But I don't know. That's one of those tough decisions that I would not want to make.
No, that high school kid needs to graduate early.
Yeah, he needs to pull a Maverick and reclassify.
Because he's what? He's number 1 in the country, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess he sees an opportunity here.
Like. Yeah, there's definitely one. Jesus.
The last one I'll reference is from our anonymous spreadsheet ninja, who I'll now refer to him as that. He always puts together some really good stuff for us. And he says, I read a letter that Debbie posted on the status of Dave Dorn, and one thing that really irked me, the fact that she was citing the percentage of freshmen and sophomores as an indicator of a young team. My bullshit radar went off real quick, and I realized the average NCAA football roster is probably 50 to 60% freshmen and sophomores because of redshirting. He goes on to say there are five recruiting classes on a football roster because of redshirting. So most NCAA football teams are 50 to 60% freshmen and sophomores because you have freshmen, redshirt freshmen, sophomores, redshirt sophomores. On my lunch break, I pulled together rosters of many teams and ran the numbers. See the attached. NC State is an anomaly. They're actually the norm. And he attaches all the data, which we'll put on the website. But it's basically that NC State is 64% freshmen and sophomores. That's a tenth of a percent more than UNC, less than Clemson, a little bit more than Florida State, and more than Louisville. But not by much, right? They're actually right in the middle. So he's 100% correct when he says, all the teams are young. Now, if you look at our two deep, it might be a little bit different. and that probably tells a different story. So how many freshmen, sophomores we have on our two deep? I would say the majority this year are sophomores and juniors. Does the output change exponentially from having sophomores and juniors to having juniors and seniors? I don't know. I'm not sure. I think that would be an interesting study, and we'll see the results of that one next year.
I'm not one for excuses like that.
Yeah,
I don't like it. It's just looking for a cop out. I don't know. You
yeah.
can take a
That's
list
what.
of excuses in one hand and shit in the other one and see which one fills up first. Because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all.
No, it doesn't. And I think that's exactly what his point is that, why are you going to tell us this crap? There's nobody buying it. At first glance, it sounds good, and that's exactly what it is, a talking point. But, looking at the numbers, probably not real. Doesn't not really supported. I'd be curious to know on the two deep numbers though if they're comparable. Anonymous Spreadsheet Ninja also wrote us another email and a fantastic post, which I'll post up later about the defense. The talking point was NC State has the fourth ranked rushing defense, and he breaks it down, rushing, scoring, all of it. So it's really interesting, kind of basically sitting right in the middle of the pack. So when you guys get a chance, take a look at the website and read that post, which I'll have up shortly. Now, speaking of no defense, how about we move on to basketball?
Yeah,
How about that transition for
boy.
you? The second worst loss ever, 107 to 56.
For you non-math majors out there, that's 51 points.
They were 5 points away from doubling us up.
That's a lot of points. I hope everybody went and got their Bojangles sausage biscuits today. 2 for $1. Take advantage of the ass kicking. You ought to get something out of it.
I mean, I was embarrassed. I'm sitting in my house, like in a corner, and I'm embarrassed to be a State fan after watching that.
Yeah, I turned the game off.
I would have.
I
I
don't
would have if I
know.
didn't have two TVs.
I don't know the last time I turned the game off, but I had a lot of shit I needed to get done yesterday, and when I started weighing the ass kicking against that, it just wasn't worth it. So uh, the it was close. The biggest win in UNC history was 62-10, so a point more. That was back in 1921. So that's the worst ass kicking we've gotten since 1921.
Holy crap! I mean, and it was start to finish. It was awful, and I got nothing. I don't know. It was a similar performance that we saw when they played Miami. Laid a complete egg. Nobody could make any shots. They looked flat, and then they come home and they play Virginia Tech and they look like the best team I've ever seen.
No, if I had to take anything out of it, as soon as Dennis Smith got into foul trouble, Gottfried was lost. He had no idea what to do.
Yeah,
They ran the one camera shot for a while during one of the 20-point runs that Carolina had going. One of the two. They had two 20-0 runs. That's just unreal. So the first one, and they had a split screen up with the game, and then just a shot on Godfrey the whole time of him just basically standing there and watching with his mouth hanging half open, just lost and in disgust.
yeah.
Never called out on the offensive play. Never did anything. He would yell a little bit when we were on defense because they were close to him. But he was just like a lost kid.
I saw that and I was hoping somebody had screenshot it and I hadn't seen it yet. And all he would say is, "Run the offense."
Yeah, that wasn't working. Obviously, fix it. You're a coach. Coach them. I mean,
Yeah, I don't. That's the thing. Like that was my argument, and I was having conversations with people, and everybody was equally frustrated, and I just, to me, I understand if like one guy has a bad game, right? You can't fault one dude if he has a bad game. When your entire team just flat sucks, that is on the coach. That is preparation, something you're not doing to get your guys ready.
Air
And
balls.
it's the same. I mean, if it was a one-time thing, I get it, but it was the same thing at Miami. And then you come out against your rival, the biggest game you have of the year, and just don't show up.
I don't. I don't even care about shots not falling. That's going to happen. Okay. But did you see all the open shots that Carolina had? Just busted up defense. It's clear they're getting ready to shoot a wide open three. Our guys don't even run toward them. They just stand and watch. No hands
And
up. Just standing there.
defense and effort is coaching.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to explain to people defense and effort is coaching. You watch these teams that play hard, and it's a direct indication of their coach.
See, that's why I get the scoring drought. I get us not hitting shots because Carolina was playing fantastic defense, especially that first half. I mean, they were everywhere, in our face, hands up. I mean, as good as they could be. So we're not going to score a lot, but if we had played defense like that, they might not have scored as much as they did.
Right.
Because I mean, scholarship players should be able to hit wide open threes more than they miss them, and that's what they do.
Yeah, and that's the frustrating part. You're exactly right. Like Carolina knew that this was the NC State game, right? They were fired up to play. Then we come out and just look awful. You're settling for jump shots and taking bad shots, and you know, Abu had 70 dunks in that Virginia Tech game. I don't think he took a shot inside the paint this game.
No, we were scared to go inside, and I don't understand.
Which is unbelievable.
And
I
Mr. First Round, Yurtseven is so weak inside. I don't understand how he's projected the way he is, other than is he being hurt by coaching here?
I don't know.
I mean, is that detrimental to his development? I don't mean that in a smart ass way. I mean, seriously.
I don't think he's ready. I don't think he's ready yet. If they draft him just based on talent, maybe, but
I mean, he looks like he's 5 years away right now.
Yeah, he's not strong enough. He's not aggressive enough. He's just a kid, so I understand it, but I don't see the projection, that's for sure. And Dennis Smith, dude's got to stop settling for jump shots.
I think the worst thing that could have happened to him was that triple-double before the Carolina game.
Yeah, because
he thought he could hit everything.
Yeah.
And that's the way it started. And then the foul trouble. I mean, that ruined the whole game plan. But
that's the typical State Carolina foul nonsense, though.
Yeah.
Like the third foul they called him, that was complete garbage. Like he was on the ground and he had already fallen, and then they called him for a tripping foul or whatever it was. Like, come on. And at that point, you're just like, that's what Godfrey got his technical, and he's trying to do what he can for get his team fired up, I guess.
That's when I was even pissed off. Like, if you're going to get a T, make it worth it.
Yeah, go punch Roy or something.
Yeah, like get in somebody's face, have to be pulled away. He said something and turned around.
Yeah,
and it was a bullshit T.
Oh, it was terrible.
See, that's why I don't think he was trying to get it, because he said something and turned around, and the official away from the ball called it. Like away from God. Yeah, it wasn't the guy that he was talking to. It was one close to the baseline. I mean, just crap.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, the team is schizophrenic. I think we're going to see it all year. People are going to point to what Buzz Williams said after Virginia Tech came to Raleigh and got stomped. Or he said, it's just like that in the ACC this year when you play on the road. I just don't accept that. I don't accept that you play on the road and you don't automatically play like crap.
No, I'm okay with losing.
Yeah.
But respectfully.
51 is not respectfully. There's nothing respectful about losing by 51 points.
We beat them in Raleigh, though.
I'm sure we will. And I'm sure Godfrey's going to make the NCAA tournament. But that's, we've talked about this to ad nauseum last year. That's not my metric for success.
Yeah.
Like, you can make the NCAA tournament. I'm pretty sure if we put together, a team of 10 podcast listeners, we could make the NCAA tournament at this point.
If he doesn't, is he gone with the roster?
If he doesn't make the tournament this year, I'm sure they'll have an excuse about team being young. I'm positive.
Yeah, that's the go-to, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's the NC State way right there.
If it were a non-revenue sport, he would be gone.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Soccer coach got fired for being 500 perpetually, right?
Yeah.
So, and then Hokey Smash, our friend and listener of the program, was tweeting the other day about, could we potentially be hiring 2 coaches next year? So, maybe. Gottfried's buyout is 2.5 and Doran's 2.2, which will be 1.8 next year. I don't think money is the problem for us. And we've talked about before, I think it's leadership. I think the people who are making the decisions either have other priorities, and just that's not one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's better make the tournament though. I mean, he better.
I don't see them not making the tournament. I don't know. I think it would be a huge disappointment if they missed the tournament.
Yeah.
I don't think this team is that awful. I think on talent alone, those should be in the top 68.
But looking back preseason, all the, projections, expected final standings, there were a lot of people that didn't have us in the tournament, and we thought they were crazy.
Yeah.
So like, well, how are we not getting any votes for the top 25? We have the talent. Look at the roster.
Right.
If Calipari were coaching this team, would they be better?
Oh, for sure. Exactly. Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
And I'm not trying to be the hater, because he's gotten us the tournament a lot. We're in a much better situation than we were when Lowe was here.
Sure.
But there again, it comes back to, why did we fire Tom O'Brien? Because we had mediocre success but thought we could do better.
We plateaued, and we've plateaued in basketball too.
The way it seems, if not started the decline.
Yeah. And now it's a long year. Who knows what's going to happen, but I feel like we've plateaued. I know you probably feel the same way. And you look at the numbers, they haven't gotten better.
No. All right. My problem is, if you want to squeak into the tournament every year, that's cool, fine. But there is no excuse to be a bad defensive team every year.
Yes. And that's so frustrating.
Every year.
There's
no excuse for that. If that's the case, then there's not a youth excuse. There's not anything. You just don't know how to coach defense.
Yeah. And that's funny you bring that up. I have in our notes I think it was from James also, when we asked about, jokingly in jest, we were asked, is Gottfried's team better defensively than Sidney Lowe's? And I'll post this to the website, but if you look at the numbers, they're not that much better. I mean, they're still, the fluctuation's not as much, so maybe Gottfried's a little bit more consistent.
But he's got better talent.
And it's just marginally better. So it's not significant at all. So I don't know. And I think at this point we kind of know what he is and what he's going to give us. That's not acceptable for me. That's not the making it to the NCAA tournament, in second round. It's just not the metric that I want to go by. And we beat it to death. I want to see competitive in the ACC, and I want to see some consistency and a little bit of defense, maybe, because I think that's how you have to win. I mean, that's how Virginia wins. They don't have any talent. They play good defense.
Yeah. And if you play good defense, you don't get fouls called on you as much either.
Yes.
Because it's expected of you to be playing tight, hard defense.
Well, if you're playing defense, you're in position. You're moving your feet. You're not reaching around guys making bad fouls.
Yeah.
And to me, that all comes back to coaching. And I, I would expect Godfrey's going to be 500 or right around that range this year. It's going to be the same story. You lose Dennis Smith, and and we're back to where we were last year, right? Just the same exact thing, and that's just not good enough for me. When you have, I would take the risk of an unproven, not even unproven, but just a. It's not, I guess it's not even unproven. I would take the risk right now and bring in, and I'm going to say it. I told you I was going to be saying it all year. Archie Miller.
And people are saying it's not a risk.
No, it's not a risk. That's why I couldn't think of the right analogy for it. But just bring him in. He's a known commodity. There's coaching runs through his blood, and there's people saying that he won't work for Debbie. I don't think that's true. But if it's true, then get her out too, because I don't care. Right? I would much rather die on the sword with him, who I know can coach, who I know wants to be here and wants to win, coaches defense, can win with lesser talent. Right? Bring him in. That's what I want to see. And we've talked about with football too, is you need better coaching if you don't have the Alabama talent. And you don't have the Duke talent in this case.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like we've had this conversation for a couple of years now. So
we have, and I was just thinking about that. I was just thinking that people say, "Oh, you guys are negative," or "Are you guys, talk about firing coaches?" Well, it's the life of a State fan, right? We're going to be honest about it, and that's what we do. If it's not working for us, scrap it, move on, try again. Bobby Lutz tweeted out like a little subtweet jab at Godfrey after he got smoked, and it was the Einstein quote, says if the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results.
Oh, I didn't see that.
You didn't see that?
No.
Oh my God, Lutz tweeted that out right after Carolina smoked us. That should be a red flag for you. Now, maybe Bobby Lutz is crazy. I don't know, but
Bobby Lutz is Catawba County, man. He can't be crazy. He went to my
I don't
wife's
even
high
know
school.
what that means, but we're just not satisfied with it, right? We just keep talking about this. It seems like we keep talking about the same thing over and over again, but I mean, that's just kind of where we are. We're in a perpetual cycle of shit, and I'm over it. Just want something more, But who knows what's going to happen this year? Hope maybe we'll win 12, 15 games in the ACC, and I'll be wrong. I'll gladly be wrong.
I got one more thing, and then
bring it.
We can wrap it.
Yeah.
Rebounding.
What rebounding?
Exactly. I don't care how good, Carolina's supposed to be at rebounding. When there's one of them, and sometimes two or three of us, and somehow we don't come out with it, more often than not, that's a big problem. And where does that lead to? Whose fault is that?
My answer. Coaching.
Yeah.
Comes back to college, it comes back to coaching.
And that's the thing. Basketball is more clear-cut than football. You are what your coach is. I firmly believe that. There's not a lot of you. I mean, you got to have the talent, sure, but there are fundamentals that you have to have, and you're supposed to get those from your coach. And if you don't, then, I mean, it's clear-cut, man. It's clear-cut.
I think you're right. I'm 100% with you. It's coaching. At the college level, you're coaching kids, and you got to coach them up. And the teams that win are the teams that have fantastic coaches. Football, basketball, you either have next level talent or you have fantastic coaches. And then teams that have both, they're the ones that win all the time.
Yeah. And I keep saying one more thing, but one more thing.
Well,
that UCLA offense, when it's working, it's great.
Yeah.
When it's not, you got to figure something else out.
Yes.
And for it to work effectively, you've got to be getting good play out of your bigs. And that's not there right now. Abu, if he's dunking, he's great. But we put a lot of stock in Yurt, and it's not there yet. So he's got to figure something out. I don't care how good our guards are. Or guard.
Which is funny because you see Anya getting more playing time, so it makes me wonder if Godfrey is realizing that Yurt's not there yet. And okay, maybe, but not Godfrey. Anya's looks like he's picked up all the weight that Godfrey's lost.
Yeah.
I mean, he's enormous right now. Why not play Capita? Capita got, what, 2 minutes in that Carolina game?
Yeah, and I didn't understand that because he's been solid.
He's been good, and he's a hustler. Let him get some fouls. Let him go in there and bang against somebody.
Nothing else was working?
Or something. Yeah.
So why not?
I'll give it up to Torrin Dorn. He's the one that was hustling. He was playing hard. He was doing things. He's the one exception to the rule.
I tell you, though, that first half, if I were a coach, and this is probably why I'm not, I would have put Corciani out there.
I would have pulled them all out.
Yeah.
Roy's done it before. Kay's done it before. Just yank them all.
Sit them for a minute. Get the point across.
Yeah. What are they going to do? Go another 20-0 run?
Yeah. It's happening anyway. So.
And that's frustrating is you just don't see anything changing, right? The guys, and it's football and basketball. You see the same sort of thing, making the same stupid mistakes over and over and over again. And that's just unacceptable for me. Woohoo! Way to start New Year.
Yeah. Go Pack. I've been getting tweets about my my depressed Go Packs.
Oh, so, I'm telling you, we need to put them all in a row and just watch them just slowly degrade as the season goes on.
Just have a meter. It goes up and down based on the mood.
Dustin's Go Pack meter.
Also, if you don't like the fact that I'm negative, then don't follow me on Twitter or listen to me talk. I don't care if you don't like it. I'm sorry. I'll block you if you talk shit to me.
People say it all the time is, you guys trash. Like, we're not trashing. It's just how state fans feel.
It's the state of the program.
It is. It's exactly right. Like, we are 100% real. Like, we're not bullshitting. We're not being. I don't think we're too negative. But I'm not gonna fluff you for no reason, right? No. I hate that. I hate people who are just, we'll get him next year, blah blah blah. Like,
I'm not gonna shit rainbows while there's a thunderstorm going on. Like, that's just how it is. I'm sorry. I love dogs, but I'm not the little puppy dog guy when it's crap. It's just if you don't like it, then that's cool, but don't bitch at me about it.
I agree. That's why we are. That's what we're trying to keep it real. I mean, I'm not going to pull any punches. This is how I feel about the programs, both of them. I think they can be better.
Yeah, man.
But
I'm an asshole in life. I'm going to be in sports too. So. Anyway, I'm done.
Yeah, me too. That's all I got. I don't even know who we play next.
Is it BC, fan. I think?
Oh, yeah, we go to BC, and then we have somebody at home.
Those road games, man.
So we should, in theory, win a couple and be back on track for Duke or Louisville. Somebody's next, or one of the bigger games coming up.
Yeah, I mean, there's 4 winnable games, honestly, and then Duke. So we got, at BC, 3 home games in a row, Georgia Tech, Pitt, and Wake, but then at Duke.
Yeah.
And then at Louisville.
Right.
So we got to win, 3 of the 4. Well, 3 of the 4 would be good. And it's going to be necessary, I think.
Yeah.
So, because it gets tough after that.
Same old story.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. I hope they win. Pulling for us. My expectations are not there, though. So
yeah,
I just want us to see it play well. I just want us to play well. I don't want to be embarrassed to be a state fan.
Yeah, especially against Carolina, man. That's the kicker.
Yeah. So. Yeah. All right, that's all I got. We'll be back next week, most likely.
Yeah.
Go Pack.
Go Pack. That's a 4 on the meter, by the way.
Mine was just question mark after mine.
Go Pack.